Welcome back to Mimi's Organic Eats. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make fresh raspberry custard. This method for making old-fashioned custard makes the most velvety, smooth, creamy custard, and I'm only using egg yolks, no cornstarch or any stabilizers. This custard is one of the best-selling items at my bake shop. Let me show you how to make it. And now this true custard, or old-fashioned custard as I like to call it, is made only using a few simple ingredients. This was the custard recipe that I made at my bake shop for over a decade, and we made it the old-fashioned way using purely egg yolks to thicken the custard so you have a smooth and creamy and thick, velvety custard. So the first step is going to be adding 1 cup of whole milk to a small pot. And you guys want to use whole milk for sure. Don't use 2%, don't use skim. You need that milk fat for this custard. Now we're going to put this milk over medium heat, and we want to heat it until it reaches about 140 degrees on a drink thermometer. If you guys don't have a drink thermometer, you could use a meat thermometer or a candy thermometer. That also works too. But you just want to make sure that we're not going to burn the milk. Milk can burn when it's heated over 160 degrees, usually burning around 180 degrees. And if you burn that milk, it's going to transfer that flavor to the custard, which we definitely don't want. And so we want to heat this milk just a little bit, not to the point of boiling or burning. We just want to heat it a little bit because we want it to be warm. So we're going to add this into our cane sugar and our egg yolks. This is going to help bring the temperature of the egg yolks up a little bit slowly before we put them over the heat. This is going to help when cooking the custard. So while your milk is heating, go ahead and grab the bowl to your stand mixer. We're going to add 4 large egg yolks to the mixing bowl. So I have a small Tupperware here because I'm going to separate out the egg yolks into my mixing bowl, and I'm going to put the whites in this Tupperware. We only need the egg yolks for this custard. This is what's going to make it super thick, creamy, smooth, and velvety. You really don't want to get any egg whites in there at all because the egg whites are going to make that custard airy. We don't want that. So now I have my 4 large egg yolks in my stand mixer, and then I'm going to just put these egg whites in the fridge and I'm going to use them later. So go ahead and grab your stand mixer, put the bowl on there, and we're going to need the whisk attachment for this. Next, we're going to add in 226 grams of cane sugar. Measure out your all-purpose flour and put it in a small bowl, and we're going to set this aside. Then you're going to whisk the sugar and the egg yolks together on low for about 2 to 3 minutes until it's lightened in color. And it will also look a little bit fluffy. Once the egg yolk and sugar mixture is light and fluffy, it's also going to lighten in color. It's basically going to go from a bright sunshine colored yellow to an Easter egg colored yellow. Next, we're going to add in our flour. And make sure you guys have kept an eye on your milk. You just want to make sure that it's about 140 degrees, not boiling at all. If it's boiled, go ahead and start over. You want to have that milk just be lukewarm. And if you don't have a thermometer, just use your finger to test it and just make sure that it doesn't boil. So my milk is ready, and I have my flour in with my egg mixture, and now we're going to mix the flour on low for just a moment just to combine it. So you just want to mix the flour on low until it's combined completely. Now we're going to turn the mixer back onto low, and I'm going to slowly add in the warm milk as it mixes into the egg mixture. We want to do this slowly because the milk is warm and there are raw eggs in here, so we're not trying to cook the eggs. This is partially also why we're heating the milk, because we want to bring those eggs up to temperature slowly so that they don't cook. The whole point of this custard is going to be cooking this slowly over the stovetop, and that is what is going to make those eggs become a thickener instead of just cooking the yolks, which we don't want to do. So you want to make sure that you mix this until everything is completely combined. You don't want any big chunks of the flour and egg mixture, and so you can just scrape this down using the whisk. And now I'm going to transfer this mixture to a stainless steel pot. And I'm not going to use the same pot that I heated the milk in because you can have remnants of milk on the bottom of that pot. If you don't wash it, then it can burn. So I'm just using a new pot. And so I'm going to transfer this to a 3-quart stainless steel pot. And so while I think stainless steel is best, if you're using like a non-stick ceramic like the caraway pot, that one's totally fine. I've made custard in that before as well. And so I highly recommend using a high heat spatula to make custard. Same thing when I'm making caramel, I always use the high heat spatula because this is going to prevent your spatula from wilting like this. Because we're going to be stirring over the heat for an extended period of time, the spatula is going to be in this custard the entire time. You don't want to take it out. So if you use a spatula that's not made for high heat, you're probably going to end up with a warped spatula. I'll link this one in the description for you guys so you can grab one. And now it may seem like you have some sugar that's stuck to the bottom here, and you want to make sure that you guys get that all completely. So just a couple tips before we start cooking this custard. So we're going to put this over medium heat. And if you have a super powerful range, you might want to go a little bit low to medium so that you don't burn the custard. I think it's better to cook it a little bit longer at a lower temperature than it is to go higher and possibly have burning or clumps in your custard. And now it is possible for you to burn your custard if you're not stirring this properly. So, just like when making caramel sauce, you do not want to leave the stove whenever you are making custard. Plan to stand over the stove the entire time so that it doesn't burn. So the process of cooking this custard is putting it over medium heat, stirring it the entire time, and letting it thicken. It sounds pretty easy, but this custard does take a little bit of work. Because we're making this the old-fashioned way, the egg yolks are going to do all the work to thicken this custard. But you also have to do the work to stir it the entire time so that it's smooth and creamy. And so you guys want to just keep up a slow and consistent, even stir, just like this the entire time. And you don't have to stir vigorously or really hard the entire time. You just want to make sure that you're consistently stirring. And like I said, if you see some of those lumps or clumps, they'll be formed in like little tiny balls. You just want to stir really fast to try to get those out, and then that will smooth it out completely. And if you guys notice any sort of brown parts that are coming up in your custard as you're stirring, that means it's burning on the bottom, and that means your heat is too high. So everyone's stove is a little bit different, so just get to know your stove as you're making this custard. And if you do end up with little burnt parts in your custard, you can actually just pick those out, and the rest of the custard is totally fine, just so you guys know. So we're gonna put this over medium heat and begin stirring our custard. And now it's going to take a minute for everything to heat up before this can start cooking, so it may seem like nothing's happening at first. That's okay, just keep gently stirring the custard. And it's going to start to cook on the bottom, as you can see right here. This is the egg mixture starting to cook, and you'll be able to feel this with your spatula. It's also going to start to bubble a little bit as it cooks. You guys want to make sure that you're scraping the bottom of the pan, the whole pan. That's how you guys will get chunks, lumps, or burnt parts, is if you're missing a part of the pan as you're stirring. And now to check to see if your custard is done, we call this the spatula trick at my bakery. Take your spatula, run it through the pan. If the custard doesn't move and fall back into where the spatula was, then it's done. So this is ready. And as you can see, this is nice and thick. It's a bright yellow. It's super creamy. There's no lumps in this. Once your custard is nice and thick, then this is done. Now it's time to add in our butter. And we're adding in 57 grams of salted butter. This can be warm, it can be cold, it doesn't matter. The hot custard is going to melt this anyway, and we're going to mix it in. Once your butter is completely combined into the custard, then I have 85 grams of fresh raspberries here, and we're just going to muddle these up. And if you guys have raspberries like from the farmer's market, or maybe some are a little bit mushy, but they're still okay, they're perfect for this recipe. And then we're gonna add our custard into the bowl with the raspberries and mix it up. Then just mix this together until everything is combined. This smells so good, you guys. I can smell the fresh raspberries. So good. And then you're gonna put this in the fridge for at least 4 hours or overnight. You just wanna make sure that the custard is cooled completely before beginning the next step. And the best thing about this custard is it doesn't create a film on it like most puddings do, so you don't even need to cover it with plastic wrap, though you can if you want. So once your custard is chilled, it's time to make the whipped cream that we're going to fold into the custard. So I have 1.5 cups of heavy whipping cream in my stand mixer with the whisk attachment. Now you guys could also use your hand mixer to make this as well if you prefer, but I think it takes quite a bit longer, so I really like to use my stand mixer for this as it's so fast. Then I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of cane sugar, and then 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. We're gonna whisk this on low to avoid splattering, and then gradually increase the speed as the mixture begins to thicken. Whisk until we have stiff peaks. So once you have stiff peaks, then the whipped cream is ready. So I have the raspberry custard from the fridge, and we're gonna set this aside while we divide up the whipped cream. So we're gonna put about 1/3 of the whipped cream in a small bowl. This is gonna be for the topping, and if you wanna weigh this, it's gonna be 8 ounces. Then we're gonna add in the remaining whipped cream into the raspberry custard, and you wanna do this about half at a time. That way it's easy to fold it in because you don't wanna break the whipped cream. Now we're just gonna fold this whipped cream into the raspberry custard. Once the first half of the whipped cream is folded in, then you're gonna add in the next half. Once all the whipped cream is combined and you don't see any streaks of just whipped cream or just custard, then it's ready. And I love serving this raspberry custard in a small little dish with a dollop of fresh whipped cream and some raspberries. And if you want to make a raspberry cream pie, you can just use this custard and fill it in any kind of pie crust that you want. It would be delicious in a graham cracker crust, in an Oreo pie crust, and you could also just put the whipped cream right on top. You could also use this raspberry custard inside layer cakes as a filling as well. And now you guys have creamy, dreamy, naturally pink, fresh raspberry custard. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and drop a comment below. And if you want more bakery style recipes just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join me next time in the kitchen.